welcome to Bob's Big Beard. So this is video number 2 on the gas tank. So in the previous video we went over cutting the gas tank. That was a major hurdle in gas tank modification, is the safety of actually cutting a gas tank and making it safe to cut and to weld. So we did that in the first video. This video we are actually welding it, and that is, like, for me as a novice welder, I just started learning to weld. I just started welding like a few months ago, and so basically the beginning of this project. This project is a welding project mainly, but we're building a cool motorcycle, yeah. And so welding a gas tank, surprising to me, is a big welding challenge. Very advanced 40-year welders have explained to me this is a big deal and this is not easy to do. This is a real test of your welding abilities. And so I am happy to tell you, I am proud to tell you that I today have a functional but ugly gas tank. Let me show you. So here we have an ugly, see this little plate on the back? It's not pretty. The welds, not pretty. But it does hold air, which if it can hold air, it should be able to hold gas. And I'll show you how I test it to see if it holds air in a second. Alright, I've got my tank here set up for welding. I am prepped. Got all my edges cleaned up. I've got my plate that I'm going to stick on it cleaned up and jam it on there. My plan is just to weld it around. Just tack this plate on here and then weld it, and then we'll cut the excess plate material off once I've got everything welded. And because on my bike here I've got very limited space underneath the tank to run any sort of petcock thing, I'm gonna run them straight out the back right here. So the tank itself, we've got 2 separate halves here. In order to get gas out of both sides of the tank, to fully utilize the tank, I need to have an exit point on either side, on both sides. So I've got 2 little bungs here made up, where I've got a threaded tube basically here, and this is like a coupling that I cut in half. So I've got 2 of them, and then I've got threaded into that a little barbed fitting. I'm going to utilize these. I'm going to weld these into each corner right here. That will function as my petcock, and then we'll tie those together with fuel line later on. Alright, so my little threaded bungs here, they did not want to stay tacked in the fuel tank, so one of them came out, and I found it much more convenient to move it onto the hole I had made on this guy over here. So then the alignment and everything made a lot more sense, so I took the other one out as well, and we're going to go ahead and weld them onto this thing first, and then we'll transfer them over to the tank here. Alright, so these guys are welded up as best as I can get them in terms of my welding abilities. I've got 3 passes on there, and so hopefully, I can't imagine this thing could possibly leak from this point at least. Hopefully it won't leak from the other points that I'm yet to weld. Speaking of which, the next thing is to move that whole thing down and weld it onto this guy. I've got a vice grip clamped onto the side of my tank, which is then stabilizing it by resting on this little bench vise. Then I have got a magnet over here holding up this end, supporting this end, and trying to stabilize things here so that the tank can stand straight up And then on top, I've got my plate ready to go, aligned where I want it. And I've also got a little magnet down on the underside here to help stabilize the top part of this. Now we're gonna try and put a couple tacks along the side here and get this thing started so that we don't have to have this awkward setup here anymore. Alright, I've got my tank. This is ridiculous. I've got my tank sealed off. I got a little piece of rubber and a piece of metal that goes right over where the fuel cap would be, and then it's all sandwiched down with these ridiculous contraptions here to squeeze everything together to seal off that fuel cap opening. And then on the back side we've got this outlet here, the spigot closed off here, and then on this spigot we've got connected to our leak down test gauge. Basically regulates the air. I've got it regulated down to 20 psi on this guy. Then we're going to be basically pumping air in here. We'll lose air to any leaks, and then I'm going to spray the leaks with some soap water mixture, and it'll bubble up where it's leaking around here. Oh, it's still... Now I have a gas tank that holds air, which means it should also hold gas, which is super exciting. Though we still have to weld on a new gas cap, but that's a story for another time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep on wrenching. We'll see you next time.